Protective styles don't really protect your hair or your scalp. They really just protect your time.
Oh, I'm wearing this wig because I'm protecting my hair. What are you protecting your hair from?
Do you see how that's incredibly offensive?
Yes, I do. That's why I said it.
I saw a few people on my feed talking about braids not being a protective style. Come to the front of the class. Your faux locks are. Your braids are. Speak for yourself. Can braids be damaging? Yes. Are they damaging in general? No.
If you've ever been on a hair care journey, I'm almost certain that you've come across protective styles. And while some people feel that protective styles are the fast food of the natural hair community, others will die on the hill that there is no other way to grow type 4 hair without them. So what's the verdict? Are they good tools to utilize in our hair journey, or are they sources of unnecessary breakage?
Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. My name's Gwen, for those of you who are new here. So recently I've been doing a series on how to retain length without protective styling, but I realized I've never done a video on protective styling, and so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be going over what is protective styling, are all protective styles created equal, is protective styling really protecting, and a bunch of other things related to protecting our hair and reaching our hair goals. So let's go ahead and get into it. So if you guys are completely new or you just never really delve down the protective styling route, here is a good definition. A protective style is a hairstyle designed to minimize manipulation and exposure of natural hair to environmental factors like heat, cold, and humidity. What are you protecting your hair from? This is a side note. I have been looking up videos and I stumbled upon a comment by a girl who was a black woman. I believe she was Brazilian. Because if you guys don't know, and if you're looking for hair inspo, Brazil has the second largest black community outside of the continent of Africa. So actually when I was looking up natural hair care, I was on Brazil TikTok. Wavy, kinky hair textures who did not really do protective styling. They were wearing their natural hair, wearing their wash and goes, thriving. But this particular girl, she said, I would always wonder what were they protecting it from? Like, what are you protecting your hair from? Which is an honest question. If you guys don't know, our hair, which I have a twist out in, by the way, but I have type 4 hair, it's pretty coily, okay? If it brushes up against certain fabrics, it can break, especially if you have fine strands, which is differently from thin hair. Like if I sleep on a cotton pillowcase without a silky scarf, I can forget it. I know I'm going to endure breakage. So a lot of people are wearing protective styles to protect from, like the definition said, environmental factors. Now, before we jump into a little bit more of the controversial topics around protective styling.
What's something you'll get a lot of hate for if you say it out loud?
These braids and many other protective styles don't protect the hair or the scalp. They do protect your time though.
We're going to talk about the benefits because there are so many benefits to having a hairstyle where you don't really have to do your hair.
If you've been on the fence about getting a protective style, think no more, because we're talking about the benefits of protective styling today. The first benefit of protective styling is that it helps you save time and energy. I mean, there's nothing like being able to literally wake up in the morning and not have to worry about your hair because it's already done. The next benefit is that it helps prevent damage. The next benefit, of course, is maintaining moisture. And when you lock in moisture, that's what helps your hair grow. That's what helps keep your hair healthy.
We are so busy. You know, some of us are moms, some of us work, some of us have so much stuff going on, juggling so many things. So in those seasons, it is a benefit, and I'm so grateful that we do have protective styles to rely on. So people like to rely on them because they are time efficient. You don't have to spend a lot of time on your hair. They are pretty low to no manipulation hairstyle because once you put in your protective styling, you don't have to do anything to your hair, and you're literally protecting it more so than if you had loose hair. lot of people think that I may be against protective styling because I'm doing this series on stretched hairstyles and ways to grow your natural hair without protective styles, but I still utilize twists in my hair for protective styling. So I am not against protective styling. I really think it's a good tool to utilize during seasons of busyness. However, a lot of people jump into wanting a protective style because of those reasons mentioned, and they think, oh, I'm gonna get a protective style and my hair is automatically gonna flourish. And that is not necessarily true all the time, especially when we get into different styles of protective styling.
1/3 of Black women suffer from traction alopecia. That's 1 out of every 3 of us. That's a lot. Hey y'all, let's quickly talk about protective styles. So the idea behind protective styles is they are meant to minimize damage and promote health of the hair, but sometimes I really think that we might have lost the plot. Traction alopecia affects about 1/3 of Black women, and it typically affects the frontal hairline, but honestly it can happen anywhere on the scalp. It's usually the result of prolonged use of hairstyles that are meant to be protective but are actually causing a lot of strain on the hair follicles.
There are many different types of protective styling. One category, you have the weaves, the wigs, the Sewins, the quick weaves, and then in another category, you have braids. You know, that's your knotless braids, that's your Senegalese twist, which I don't know if this is still a thing, but that's also your faux locks, that's your passion twist, all that kind of stuff, dealing with extra added hair. And then you have your third category, which is doing the mini twists, the micro braids, regular plaits, cornrows with your natural hair, no hair added. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of people think that doing these styles automatically equal hair growth, and some people even think that is the only way to grow your hair. You literally will hear some people say, you cannot grow type 4 hair with having it out. You have to have it braided up. You cannot wear your hair down on a regular basis while still retaining length. And I don't know if that's necessarily true because yes, I do believe that low manipulation is the key to hair growth. And while protective styles do equal low manipulation, I do think that there are other low manipulation hairstyles that aren't necessarily considered protective styles. Styles that require a lower manipulation on a daily basis and also help you keep your hands out of your hair. What I'm hoping to really get out of this series of talking more about hair is to help you find something that works for you, whether it is stretched hairstyles, whether it is being a straight natural, whether it is wearing your hair in twist styles, whether you decide you want to go to protective hairstyle route. My goal with this series is really just to show women the beauty and the diversity of our hair. And in particular, since I'm on my no weave journey, I really want to hone in on styles that you can do without wearing fake hair. A quick little backstory about me. I would utilize Sewins all the time. So literally for like 10 years straight, I would never leave out of the house without a sew-in, except if I was going to get it sewn back in. I did not feel comfortable wearing my natural hair during the years that I was wearing my sew-in, because I was always used to how I looked with weave in my hair, you know, and I don't know, when you get used to looking at yourself with weave in your hair, you without weave just doesn't look the same. And so this cycle continued for about 10 years until I got convicted, which is a whole separate little journey. I have videos down below that I'll link. Once I got convicted, I knew, okay, the years of depending on these sew-ins to protect your hair, when really for me, it was just to have long hair. Because I was too lazy to figure out how to grow my own natural hair, or I didn't have the patience to sit and wait for it to grow. But when that happened, I had no other choice but to be thrown into the lion's den. Yes, I consider it a lion's den. I know some people may think that's dramatic, but it was really a lion's den because I had to kind of learn and start from the ground up. Now, I do think on the positive side, the sew-ins over the years definitely helped my hair grow. However, because I was getting sew-ins and I really wasn't a braid girl, I was not a wig girl, I had a lot of hair out in between parts. And because of that, I would notice that my leave out would break. So yes, I do think that there was a little bit of positives because the hair that was completely braided up grew for me. But when it came to sew-ins in particular that I was doing, there was a negative because my hair was breaking. I also noticed during the seasons of me wearing sew-ins that the front of my hair, which I'm still recovering from postpartum hair loss, but the front of my hair, I would have balding sometime in here. And it wasn't super terrible, but it was enough for me to notice, for my husband to notice. And I think it came from the tension on my hair. And sometimes you guys will notice certain protective styles cause a lot of tension on the hair.
Are any of the girls experiencing hair thinning because of weave? Like, you just know your hair was thicker before you put them bundles in. Is it the thread? Is it the bundle hem? Or is it just me?
Which is something that a lot of people talk about, but it particularly really impacts us fine hair girlies because our hair is so fine and it's so fragile, you know? And so the least bit of tension can really rip your hair right out.
Fine hair means that individual strands are small in diameter. They're soft, silky, and more fragile. And dense hair means you have lots of strands packed closely together. So your hair looks full, but is actually made up of very delicate pieces. But if your hair seems to be breaking easily, then you might be making some of these mistakes. Having braids or twists that are too tight and pulling at your strands. Parts that are too small, putting too much tension on the sections. Having extensions that are heavier than your actual hair. Not moisturizing your hair for weeks on ends because you've left it in a protective style. Neglecting your scalp health so it's clogged, itchy, and inflamed. So here's how to make your protective style actually protect your hair. Go for lightweight products with lots of slip, so aloe-based leave-ins and light oils like grapeseed oil, and avoid thick butters that coat and suffocate your strands. Section everything. Washing, detangling, styling. Always do it in sections to prevent tangles. Avoid tension. Fine strands are more likely to just pop under stress, so use larger parts and go for more low tension styles. Moisturize your hair often, but seal lightly. So use lightweight hydrating leave-ins or mist throughout the week to keep your hair moisturized.
So for me and my journey, I realized protective styles provided a little bit of benefits, but also some cons. And this kind of brings me into my next point, which is that while people think that protective stylings are so amazing, and I truly think that they are, some of the cons include the tension of the style, like I mentioned, going balding.
Don't wanna end perfect days.
When I say that protective styles don't protect your hair, that video is what I mean. So for some people, they put their hair into braids, a weave, some kind of style that is no manipulation, and they think that that's it. That's all they have to do, and their hair is protected. I always say that moisturized hair is protected hair. So when you have your hair in a style where you're not able to get to your actual hair to hydrate it, you're not protecting it. It's just a hairstyle.
Any type of incredible tension on the hair can cause damage. Another thing is synthetic hair irritates a lot of people.
Hey, I got a question. Anybody else allergic to braiding hair?
For the past 4 years, this is what my scalp would look like every time I got my hair done.
I literally just got my hair done on Saturday. And ever since Saturday, my scalp been itching.
I'm laughing on the outside, but I am legit crying on the inside.
Synthetic hair does have chemicals that your body may not agree with, and as a result, it can cause damage on your body. Every person has a certain amount of chemical exposure that they can take and that they can't take. But for some people, they are highly allergic to synthetic hair. And some protective styles, especially the braids, the faux locks, the micro braids, all that stuff can include synthetic hair.
I'm not trying to be overly dramatic here, but I am absolutely done with synthetic hair. I had no idea how toxic synthetic braiding hair is. Harmful chemicals such as polyethylene tetraphthalate, or PET, polypropylene, or PP, and polyvinyl chloride are chemicals linked to a range of health issues.
The other thing, which doesn't really apply to people who do their own hair, but more so people who go out to another stylist, when you get protective styles, you kind of run the risk of coming across someone who may not be the best with hair, which this can fall on us, because it's like, yeah, if you're getting your hair done from someone, make sure you do your due diligence. But a lot of people go to people who they may not know how to properly care for the hair to set it up for a decent install, you know, because you do have to assess the hair before putting in any type of protective style. You do have to trim the hair if it's needed. You do have to make sure the hair has a little bit of moisture to be able to withstand being in this style for 4 weeks plus. And sometimes we go to hairstylists who don't really do any of this stuff, and our hair ends up suffering greatly when it should have been flourishing.
Something else that happens is that you may not be satisfied with the look of your hair.
I became convinced that a lot of times y'all look in the mirror and you're expecting Jada Waiter to be looking back at you. Y'all want what other people have. You don't actually want a beauty service for yourself. You're not imagining yourself. You're imagining an inspo picture. You're not her. And I think a lot of times clients get mad. They try to, oh, you messed my hair up, or you didn't do this right, or oh, I don't like how this came out, because they're not imagining themselves. They think that beauty service providers are magicians. Like, if you don't like yourself, no hairstyle, no beauty service, no lashes, no makeup, no nothing is gonna make you pretty if you don't think you're pretty.
The other thing about protective styles that I don't think a lot of people really touch on is the neglect factor. And I really had to think long and hard. Like, there are certain seasons when people utilize protective styling. So like I said, if you're in a busy season, you know, when I first became a mom, I twisted up my hair quite a bit because I just didn't have time to pour into my hair every single day. I was in a super hectic season. I was utilizing cute claw clips during that season, having my hair up. But I think sometimes, if we're honest, we become so dependent on protective styles so much that we end up neglecting our hair completely, or we end up getting too comfortable with not learning how to nourish our hair properly underneath all of that. And that's exactly what happened to me. I became so dependent on knowing how I looked with hair weave that I didn't care that my leave out was breaking. I didn't care that my hair wasn't flourishing underneath. I didn't even have to learn how to care for it. And I ended up suffering for it because I didn't really start to learn how to take care of my own hair till I was about 29 years old, which was a couple years ago. I was like, dang, this is crazy, Gwen. You're 29 and you don't know how to take care of your own hair because you have been utilizing these Sewins or protective styles for so long. You know, I think it's easy to become dependent on these type of styles, and as a result, we never really learn how to manage our natural hair. And then we also can neglect it completely.
Hey y'all, so this is a client that I had. She ended up keeping her sewing in for, I believe, 7 to 8 months. I'm not sure. I know it was last summer sometime, maybe August. This is what it was looking like, and I immediately got to work. This process took a little minute because her hair was matted in with the string. I really couldn't tell the difference, what was string and what was hair. But after I got that off, y'all can tell that scalp is nowhere to be found.
If you have not touched your hair for 8 months, it's going to be knotted, matted. You will have tons of breakage. So there is a fine line between utilizing it for a busy season and totally neglecting your hair altogether. And then other cons may be that you just don't like protective styling and you don't like having your hair in a restrictive state. Some people just don't like how they look and they would prefer to wear their hair loose, down, out. And for those people, I would say check out my other videos because that's the whole point of this series, showcasing other styles that you can do. Depending on the protective style, other cons may also be that you don't have any access to your scalp.
Did you know the scalp was skin? Did you know that the scalp needs to be cleansed regularly? Did you know that oiling your scalp daily can cause fungus, yeast, and over buildup on your scalp? Did you know when the scalp follicles are clogged, it's hard for growth and also for oxygen to get to your scalp?
This is going to be mainly for your wigs and certain sewing installs, especially if they put the cap on. That is a huge con, not having access to your scalp sometimes for a month at a time. And then you also have to worry about product buildup. Now we're going to jump into, are all protective styles created equal? So the way that I divided these categories up is category number 1, hairstyles where you can't reach your scalp, your wigs, sewings, and quick weaves. As stated, I was really into sewing extensions, and the positives is that a lot of my hair was braided up and I did notice hair growth. However, when you have a sew-in and you don't get a texture that's similar to your own hair texture, you run the risk of damaging your leave out, because you will go through great lengths, if you're like me, trying to blend your leave out with your bundles. So the other categories, quick weaves and wigs. Now, I've never worn a quick weave. I see a lot of people who love quick weaves.
So when your hair is braided and it's in a protective style, it keeps your hands from touching it, and it grows when it's in a protective style. Under the sew-in is braids all over your head, and then with quick weaves, it's not as healthy because it's a lot of track glue, so that damages your hair.
And you have a cap on, same with wigs. Now, I never really got into wigs either. I know some people figure out a way to make it look natural, and some people are like, it's a wig, I don't care if it looks natural, it's not natural anyway. But my whole point with extensions was always to make it look like it was coming out of my scalp, so I automatically knew wigs weren't going to do that for me. I don't care who put it in, it was never going to do that for me. But I do notice that people who wear wigs for a long time, especially if they are going every 4 weeks or every 3 weeks to get it taken down, washed, blow dry, trimmed, cared for, then get it re-braided back in, there is a safe way that you can utilize wigs for hair growth. My next category, which is protective stylings with synthetic or human hair added in. This is actually something that I would see myself wearing, these braids, because I just think they're so cute. I love the fact that you can reach your scalp. I love that it adds a little bit of length. And so this is something that I am a fan of. Like I said before, there are some people who are allergic to synthetic hair. If you're someone who you're against synthetic hair because of the chemicals, but you're putting on makeup every day, or you're washing your hair, putting on these curly hair products with all these phthalates, parabens, you need to really check around you, because you would be really surprised, which I will be going and doing a deep dive on that, because I really do believe they're out here trying to keep us bald and infertile. I do like the way that the boho knotless braids look, especially on like a beach vacation. I love that. I don't know, I think it's really cute.
I also think a way around the synthetic hair, if you do like the looks of the knotless braids, the faux braids, and everything like that, is to choose brands that have non-toxic braiding hair, which there's a lot of companies that are arising saying that their braiding hair is non-toxic, it's free of all these harsh chemicals, or of course to go with human hair.
Now, I do hear a lot of downsides about braids, okay?
Braids do not make your hair grow. Actually, in my experience, it's quite the opposite. Braids cause breakage. And I talked to my hairstylist about this. She said that the synthetic hair that you put on your hair, during those weeks that it's sitting in there with your hair, it is rubbing against your hair and causing friction and eventually breakage.
Braids are keeping us right up in here. Right up here, because every time you take them out, you have excessive shedding. You have to cut those ends because they're split, they're damaged.
Hear me out. Gel that is being put in our scalp, not good for us. That's why a lot of us have flaky scalp. The amount of tension, horrible. We're supposed to come with no product, wash, blow dry. They're taking a rat tail comb and combing just to make sure that it's neat and perfect before they put all the gel on it. Not good. When they cut all the flyaways, they're cutting your hair at the top. Now, I'm not saying you can never wear braids. Braids are good sometimes, maybe once, twice a year when you're going on vacation.
Some people are not feeling the braids and they're saying this is not a protective style. But again, I think some people's hair can handle certain things that other people's hair can't. And I think if you're going to a reputable person who knows how to prep their hair properly, and you're not leaving this style in way past the limit, it can be a tool for you to use on your hair journey. And now we're going to jump into my favorite section, which will be protective styles with no hair added. I have been utilizing twists. I started doing twists when I got pregnant, and I remember when I started, the front of my hair was so short, and I just remember thinking, why is it that mini twist on everyone else looks cute and on me it just looks flat, sticky? And that's when I realized, like, okay, Gwen, it's because you have fine hair. Like, that is the truth, and that's why I am personally on a journey to wear my hair and grow it, because when I wear mini twists, I always have to put it in a bun for it to look cute for me. I know some people don't care how their hair looks, but my twist always looks so like thin and like, what's that person, Gollum? I like to wear my hair down. I like for my hair to look big. I don't get that with twists, but I will utilize it in certain seasons.
This is your daily reminder that if you don't know what to do with your natural hair, put it in some twists, and I promise it'll give you some time not only to figure out what you want to do with it, but also keep it protected while you do. And they don't even have to be mini twists either. These are what I would consider to be like medium-sized twists, and I think they work really well as a holder style, but also as something that's going to keep my hair nice and moisturized until I figure out what I want to do with it.
Now, I did see this video about mini twists, and someone in the comments mentioned, you know, my 4C fine hair could never, and then someone underneath her put, I have the same hair, mini braids work for me. So depending on your hair type, you may get better results with mini twists, or you may find that mini braids works better for you. It's just all about trial and error. And I think braiding and doing protective styles with your own natural hair without hair added is the best, because you are missing out on those chemicals. The tension is going to be a lot less, while also still being able to let your scalp breathe and reach your scalp. And now, of course, for the miscellaneous category, I would throw in there the low buns, your ponytails, your French braids, and things like that. And so for those styles, I will leave that up to you guys to decide if that's something that works for you, because for me, I know I don't like super tight buns on my hair, but there are ways that you can do your hair in buns and in updos, like the pineapple, for instance, with the loose scrunchie that doesn't involve tension. But I do have to be honest, I never wore those styles for longer than like one day at a time. Oh my gosh, the sun! Sorry guys. And so my last point is, do you need protective styles to grow your hair? I don't think so. I am gonna tell you guys something that I've been noticing, especially after doing this series, gathering all different clips of beautiful women with beautiful hair of all types. I have noticed one thing, that people who wear protective styles do see a ton of growth, specifically the ones who are wearing the protective styles without added hair. And then I've also seen people who stretch their hair, in particular type 4 hair, just with a blow dryer and maybe do twist styles. Those people are also doing and seeing a lot of growth. Now, when it comes to wash and goes, which a couple people have told me like, hey, no, Gwen, wash and goes can be a protective style because we style our hair on wash go, and then after that, we don't touch it until the next wash day, which is something that I have never done because I don't think I got to the point where I mastered my wash and go perfectly to be able to let it last me a week without touching it. But for those who have mastered it, they have said, no, I have a routine where I don't touch my hair until the next wash day. So I definitely think the key to the length retention, while you can get there quicker with the protective styles, it's not the only way. But overall, I think if you have a style down pat that doesn't require you to be in your hair all day, you have enough moisture, you have a routine because hair loves consistency, and you figure out a way to detangle your hair without ripping it out, meaning you either finger detangle or you utilize products with a lot of slip to it so that it doesn't break the hair, I think you can pretty much get length without doing protective styling. Okay guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. I would really love to hear your thoughts on if you guys do protective styling. And also I would love to hear thoughts on future video ideas you want me to cover. I thank you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.